Well, yeah. So what do you do when you have a clean amp and want to have a distorted tone? You don't go for a tube screamer, we learned. That is for something else, the tube screamer. But today we're looking at two of the classic distortions that do, at least on first glance, what a classic distortion should do, make a more or less clean amp distort. Thomas, hi, how are you? Do you agree or?
I definitely agree.
Okay.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. And which models are we talking about today?
We are talking about
classics.
yellow and orange. As I said in the last episode, MXR Distortion Plus and the Distortion DS-1 from Boss. So these classic distortion pedals, which, turn a clean amp into something really weird. You can hear it on Smells Like Teen Spirit. I think it was the Boss DS-1, what Kurt Cobain used on that recording from the intro, this riff, and then kicking in the DS-1, DS-1. And it turns into, overdrive distortion mania. Great tone, absolutely great tone.
Yeah.
And Distortion Plus, some Randy Rhoads is the one which I remember when I think about Distortion Plus. But I have some stuff for you.
Okay. Some background info. Yeah.
If you don't have anything to add to that, I can start with the small background information.
No, let's start with the facts and where they come from, since when, which era they were conceived, and because that tells a lot of the story. So no, please go ahead.
Okay, so here we are with this yellow pedal, the MXR Distortion Plus with the script logo, and this was released in 1978, so 1 year before the Tube Screamer. It's a single op amp and a pair of germanium diodes, which creates this distortion tone. And what should I mention too? So this pedal does not use transistors, same as in with the Tube Screamer, because all the older distortion or fuzz pedals use transistors. So this was one of the first distortion pedal. I said last time the TS-808 was the first overdrive. So I would say it's a different circuit. So distortion pedal, this is one of the first. Using no transistors. And interesting on that pedal, it has no tone control, but when you turn up the distortion knob, the distortion control from, let's say from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock, it increases the amount of treble in the signal. So you have a slightly treble boost when turning up the distortion. And this is really very nice to have. So controls, output, distortion, we had that. Users, very different. So Randy Rhoads, I said already. Jerry Garcia, Grateful Dead. Dave Murray from Iron Maiden, and Tom York from Radiohead. Use this. So very different genres. It's not this typical style of music. These are just from, I don't know, thousands. So, but I want to mention these four because of the different styles they play and why they are using the Distortion Plus for crazy, more distortion sound. Okay, the next one is the DS-1 Boss, 3 knobs, released also in 1978. And it has a circuit, a simple circuit with a pair of in and output buffers surrounding a transistor boost stage and an op amp gain stage with hard clipping diodes and a tone control. So in the first models, this is something what I read, they didn't use op amps, they used preamps, but the main tone of the DS-1 is created in the later versions with op amps. And the users, yeah, Steve Vai, Satriani, Kurt Cobain, I told already, then Dave Grohl, Billy Joe Armstrong for these Green Day punk rock riff sounds, and also Gary Moore, just a few of a lot users. Okay, these are the small facts about these two distortion pedals. You find everything, schematics, and yeah, tons of websites on the net, so I won't bore you with all the stuff details and everything. So we like to listen. And with which pedal do you like to start?
I would like to start with the Distortion Plus.
Okay.
Because that's the one I had, and I remember what it did to the tone. And I also remember that I expected when I got it a little bit more boost from it. But that didn't happen because I thought I upgraded it from after the Big Muff. I had this Coron, there was this I don't know, Japanese company Coron, Coron, and they had a distortion pedal that looked similar to the Distortion Plus, and it just had an incredible higher amount of output. So the tone wasn't as nice as with the Distortion Plus, but you had this the chance to overdrive your
Boost.
amp much better. So I'm curious to hear again what the Distortion Plus would do to this Kemper profiler setup in this scenario.
Just something to mention about my models. They are not old. They are the Distortion Plus is a reissue from I think I bought it 3 years ago, and bought it new, and the DS-1 is I think about 90s, somewhere in the 90s. I think late 90s, a late 90s model, and yeah. Distortion Plus, the output level is not really high, so I need to turn the output level to maximum to get it leveled with the clean tone, clean sound. So you can't really boost that, and yeah, you need to turn it up all the way. So there's normally no need for this level. So for me.
Yeah. That's how I remembered it.
Okay, so yeah, going to the rig manager. Here we are. This is my setting. It's the setting with a clean amp, and the amp should be turned on, definitely. So I'm using the Les Paul. And you will recognize that this tone has not much treble. But when you kick in the Distortion Plus, so compared to the original signal, so to the amp signal, you get a lot more treble, and the distortion control is set to noon. So now I'm turning up the control, the distortion control, let's say to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, maximum. Now again 12 o'clock. So this is really one character of this distortion unit, to have this, crispy distortion tone. I would say, it's a normal distortion tone when you turn it up. It's not nothing high gain, monster, mid scoop, modern distortion. It's late 70s distortion, and it works really fine. So now comparing it to the profiler distortion, and we have a plus distortion here. This is distortion plus distortion, and this is modeled after this MXR unit. And once again, distortion level at 12 o'clock, and you hear the original. Now with the plus distortion. And you can hear the volume is louder, so the level is louder. I need to turn the volume down to have same level. Let's say here, -1. Again, the original. And again, the other one, the plus distortion. So for me, character closed. In this setting, the original has a little bit more mids, just tiny bit lower mids, but the plus distortion, plus DS from the Kemper profiler is more, it cuts better through the mix. So this will be the recording sound to get, you have 2 guitar tracks matched with some other stuff, other instruments. You don't cut out some lower frequencies when you record that. So it's suitable for band arrangement and for recordings, from my perspective. Now checking the maximum gain and how it reacts and how it boosts the high frequencies. So here's the plus distortion, turning the drive up. You also get this treble enhancement. You get a more muffled tone when you turn the drive down all the way. Also, you hear when you play a chord, E chord. Very much clarity, even at high gain. So this is, for me, is very important to have this clarity, and you need to hear every string you're playing, and not only hear the strings when you're playing power chords. So although
yes,
so
indeed.
you hear everything.
And it was used a little bit like, to make, well, especially, I think a lot of guys who played humbucker guitars used the Distortion Plus because of the treble boost,
Yeah.
and you had a little bit of because that was the time when the Mesa Boogie amps came in slowly. So with that distortion, you could have when you had a Marshall and the Les Paul, was a pretty dark thing. You could add this little, I don't know, this higher value, more pristine, like singing solo tone with the Distortion Plus as well.
Sustained solo tone, but with this bitiness, I would say. So this biting tone, which always cuts through the mix, even when you have two guitars playing backing track and you can solo on that. You get hurt. You don't need to push up the volume that far.
Right. Yeah. That's true. And I remember one guy from my hometown who was always complaining about his tone, but he was playing in a trio, and whenever he kicked in the Distortion Plus, the body of his two stacks, whatever he used, went away. A little bit too much for him. So the bass player had to work much harder.
Needs to turn on the octaver then.
Yeah, but in other settings, when a lot of more frequencies were taken care of by a bigger band setting, that was a very sought after thing to use, and it added a lot of another level of expression that for pretty cheap. I mean, they're I don't know, $100 or so.
$100, yeah.
And that was quite affordable. Yeah, but really limited because you could do that one thing with it, and you had to really make sure that you matched the levels because there was no headroom.
Yeah, but the Plus DS in the profiler, it has that headroom. So it's a very great to have modification, and especially for the use of the Plus DS or Distortion Plus pedal, you need to know that you shouldn't have crispy amp like AC30 or a crispy set plexi. This is too much. So as you have heard in the original or here, very warm tone. So it's a great thing to beef up and to crispen up a warm tone, a warm amp tone. So this is something, I would go for when I'm using the Plus distortion. And it's a great thing to have when you make some recordings, riff recordings, double tracking recordings, and you want just a little bit different tone on the other side, taking the same guitar, taking the same amp. Kick in the Plus distortion, you get a little bit of treble boost, maybe lower the gain on the amp to compensate this gain setting, and you have a slightly different tone, a more treble tone, but it works very, very fine for double tracking riffs guitars.
Indeed.
So another setup now to go is use it with the overdrive amp. So here we are. So this is the modded plexi profile in the JCM mode, so something in direction to a JCM 800 and kicking in the Plus distortion. So it adds a little bit more gain, and yeah, shapes the tone. So it's just, yeah, for me, it's a tone shaper in that combination with an overdrive amp. And you can, yeah, let's say you're not really satisfied with the tone of your overdrive amp. You have an amp or amp setup, do some recordings, and it doesn't really fit into the mix. Normally, you turn knobs in the amp section, like here. So changing, yeah, okay, more treble, more presence, maybe take the definition up. But yeah, use this one. This is the setting, drive 7.5, volume at noon. You can also lower the gain a little bit on the amp. Take more drive, maybe a little bit less volume. Or turn up the gain. Very great for this bitey lead tone. So and you can just kick in some gain from the amp, so it works. It doesn't get muddy, and this is something which I really like with this Plus Distortion, that it's just boosting some treble, getting some more gain, and having this punch in your lead tone or in your riff tone.
Yeah, when it's not just to use to distort a clean channel or edge of breakup, then in the other mode, basically it adds another color, another lead channel, so to say. Yeah.
And it's different. I started working like a tube screamer, so turning the gain down and turning up the volume. But you can do gain at 3 o'clock, volume at noon, and it works. So it's not getting muddy with this distortion. With other distortion, it gets muddy sometimes. So try it. It's a really great tool. So long time I didn't think about the DS Plus, and it just came back. And of course, for this show here, I was tuning into this Distortion Plus sounds, and oh yeah, it's great. It's a lost member of the family that we need, and it's just a tool that you need to know. Okay, take this tool if I want that. If I want some boost, take the Tube Screamer. If I want to have some distortion and maybe boost a distorted amp too, get some higher frequencies, works great.
Yeah, and at this point and moment, to say many people, I'm afraid, are trying out so many different rigs and getting rigs from here and there and whatever, and are never really satisfied. And the thing is, it's like in the old days when you have something that's basically your thing. Use the distortion pedals, the Stomps from the Profiler, to create some variations of that amp. Maybe it's not the best idea to reach for a completely different profile, or because sometimes the proper smart use of some distortion might deliver much more what you're going for than searching, because amp gain versus distortion gain and the levels, it does so much, and especially the frequency reaction to what you're doing with the guitar and the pickups and the kind of guitar you have. So that's something definitely worth checking out.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. Okay, next one, the orange one.
Yeah.
Here we are again. DS-1. So I have the DS-1 set to the tone control to noon. The level control, it's about 4 o'clock because the DS-1 also has that not that much output gain. And the gain level at 3 o'clock. So here's the normal amp, which is again, I think it's the same. Yeah, the same amp. The modded Plexi in the JCM setting. Nearly clean. So this is the DS-1, and we have the one distortion. What do you think?
What I hear right now, it's pretty close. I mean, if not identical, but of course I have no idea about
Yeah,
the
okay.
feel. And
It's the zoom tone then. Yeah, they are close. So for me, this setting, it was, wait, changing again to the rig manager. The setting here is drive as I had on the pedal, but the tone lowered a little bit. And I think the one distortion from the profiler has a little bit more high frequency. So I would turn it down, comparing. And it has a little bit more lower frequencies. The original one.
yes, I would say so. I hear that.
And that was the reason why I took this metal EQ. As you can see, just scoop the mids a little bit at 844 and turn on or raise the low at 0.4. So now original. A little bit more. Oh no, sorry for that. I had the metal EQ on. Again, original. And now both from the profiler. So from the frequency range, it matches a little bit more, but yeah, to be honest, character is fine. Take different distortion ones, take modded DS-1s, they all sound different. And yeah, again, you can get this tone, this DS-1 tone with the profiler, maybe a little bit in conjunction with the metal EQ, which is a great EQ, by the way, because it has just one parametric frequency range for the mids, and then you can boost the bass one and the high frequencies, and they are really leveled out very, very fine.
Yeah,
so
indeed. And
it's
I think
not only for metal.
Yeah, I think this name is pretty misleading.
Yeah.
because that's basically if you want to carve out or bring in a certain frequency, the basic aspect of the guitar, and tickle the distortion of an amplifier with a certain frequency a little bit more, and also for if you would think Brian May with the high mid boost and stuff, this is the tool for it, because it's not so distracting as all the other EQs. So that's also highly recommended. Indeed, and even in conjunction with the distortion pedals, because with that, on top of that, you can also create even more nuances of just an amp, just like in the real world. And coming back to the DS-1, back in the day, I was interested in a lot of stuff Steve Vai was doing, and he was using that basically for all his wilder and crazier tones. On top of this, he was playing the Carvin amps in these days, and also the Steve Stevens Marshalls, modded by Jose Arredondo, I think it was. And there was also the DS-1, and all these legendary records, because it had a little bit more variety than the MXR, a little bit more boost, and with the tone, you could beef up a distorted tone very well, and so that was the range was a little bit greater than with the DS-1, but also, I don't know, when the amp is on the edge of breakup, I think the DS-1 works better. When you have a full clean amp, I think the Distortion Plus is a little bit more real sounding, but that's of course a question of taste as well.
So for me, it's I can show you some settings. It's the power chord distortion. I call the DS-1 the power chord distortion because it works. It works so great with power chords and the ninth chord. And taking the tone down, very broad range, very bitey. So you can, you don't need to take this that far, but if you have so this, Queens of the Stone Age stoner stuff for this really muffled, high gain, distorted tones, but also for, doing some lead tone. This typical one. So this warm, crying, slashy tones, I think Slash used one in the older days too. So very broad variety, and you can use it with an overdrive amp too. So taking this, this is the pure amp sound, then adding also with volume at 0 or noon and drive a little bit lower, and you can raise the drive. Taking the tone a little bit up. And a little bit more. And we got into this slightly metalled tone. So this more scooped tone. So it's yeah, very broad variety of tone changes with the tone knob. So yeah, start at noon with the tone knob and then check out. And small changes are really huge differences in tone, but always very musical. So it's okay when you're turning it very much up, it's very bitey, but it depends on the amp that you're using. So if you have this muffled low less treble amp, you can turn it really much up, but it's something between, I would use it between 10 and 2 o'clock. These are the settings, and just match it. And also with a distorted amp, you can use the drive at a very high level. You don't need to boost it in that way. You can do, but different to the overdrive, the tube screamer or the clone overdrive, it's something that I more use the drive to boost the tone to get more gain instead of the volume. So for these overdrives, I'm using the volume too.
Yeah. And yeah, amazing colors you can add to the rigs and the profiles you have there, and get a lot of variety so easily, and works now obviously with the Kemper as well as in the old days when the amps had to be treated and approached with some additional gear and creativity, and it's so interesting how these things stick and work still pretty well. And yeah, of course, all the variety out there these days, with all the boutique pedals and nuances of drives that are out there. And I don't know, I don't have the overview about that scene too much, but it would be interesting in some place what reminiscence they would use to, come up with their new concepts and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know, I think that would be too much of an effort to get into this. Yeah, but I think this has covered everything Distortion Plus and DS-1 so far, I think. Only if you have to add something.
I'm fine. It's just for me again some of the hidden gems in the profile amp. Everybody talks about the fuzz, or I'm talking about the fuzz very much, the Kemper drive, and I've really forgot those two or those three ones. So it's worth a try to use it and think about how you use it. It's always makes a difference if you use that stuff right, or something like the right way.
Right. And then I think we mentioned that before. If you, for example, especially live, when you're in a setting and the FOH guy has figured you out in terms of where you sit inside of the whole scenario, and if you keep your amp tones and you add for the various parts of the song or the concept various levels of distortions, then you sit still in your frequency range, but you can add these little nuances of color and also different kinds of distortions that just work. And this is a huge, a very great application of the drive pedals, I guess.
Definitely. And for recording too, sometimes a sound is okay, and you kick in some overdrive distortion, especially also in the real world with real amps. Just one smart change, some smart change shaping, and it sits in the mix. The tone inch is screaming, okay, I don't need that EQ, I don't need all that stuff, it's placed. And this is, yeah, the best thing. And
Yes.
it's great to know about this and to get it to work.
Yeah, indeed. This is, the concepts to just don't use it for the obvious stuff, but, experiment with it. Okay. If there are questions, of course, let us know. And we will make these rigs available also. And try this at home, especially these things. Try these at home. And thank you so much, Thomas. And
Come.
bye until the next show.
Bye.